The first time I heard my name through the radio, I thought I was dreaming. It was 2:13 in the morning. I remember that clearly because I checked the time right after it happened. Out here in the Appalachian Mountains, you start paying attention to small things, like the exact time you wake up, or how the wind sounds when it hits the trees. I was alone in the fire lookout tower, about 40 miles from the nearest town. No signal, no internet, just a crackling old radio that connected me to the ranger station miles away. Most nights, it barely worked. Just static and the occasional routine check-in. That night was different. I woke up suddenly, like someone had shaken me. My heart was already racing before I even opened my eyes. For a few seconds, I just lay there in the dark, listening. That's when I heard it. Static. Not unusual. The radio was always making noise. But this was louder, sharper, like someone was trying to tune into a station that didn't exist. I sat up slowly. The room was cold, colder than it should have been. The small heater in the corner had stopped sometime during the night, and I could see my breath in the faint moonlight coming through the window. The radio sat on the wooden desk near the stairs, its red indicator light flickering. Then it came again. Daniel! I froze. My name, clear as day, not buried in static, not distorted, just there. I stared at the radio, trying to convince myself I misheard it. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it was some weird frequency picking up chatter from somewhere far away. But deep down, I knew what I heard. I swung my legs off the bed and walked toward the desk, every step feeling heavier than it should. The wooden floor creaked under me, louder than usual in the silence. The radio crackled again. Daniel? Can you hear me? My throat went dry. That wasn't possible. No one calls in at 2:13 a.m. unless it's an emergency. And even then, they use call signs. Protocol. Not names. Hello, I said, my voice barely steady. I grabbed the radio mic, pressing the button. This is Tower 7. Who's calling? Static. Just static. I waited, holding my breath. For a moment I thought that was it, that whatever happened was over. Then the voice came back, closer this time, almost like it wasn't coming from the radio at all. Don't look outside. I felt something drop in my stomach. What? I said louder now. Who is this? No answer. Just that low, endless static again. I stood there for a long time, gripping the mic, listening. Nothing else came through. Eventually, the silence grew heavier than the fear, and I placed the mic back down. I told myself it was interference. Some random signal crossing paths with ours. It happens. Rare, but it happens. Still, that message stuck in my head. Don't look outside. I laughed under my breath, trying to shake it off. Yeah, okay, I muttered. Very funny, but my eyes, they kept drifting toward the windows. The lookout tower was surrounded by glass on all sides. That's the whole point, you're supposed to see everything. Miles and miles of forest stretching into darkness. Usually I loved that view. That night it felt different. The trees were too still. No wind, no movement, just a black ocean of shapes under the moonlight. And then, without thinking, I looked. First, I didn't see anything, just the forest. But then my eyes adjusted, and that's when I noticed it. Something was standing between the trees, far out, maybe 100 yards from the tower, just at the edge where the moonlight barely reached. Tall, too tall. It wasn't moving. It wasn't waving. It was just there, watching. I leaned closer to the glass, squinting, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. My brain kept trying to turn it into something normal, a tree stump, a trick of shadow, anything. But it didn't fit, because slowly, very slowly, it raised an arm and waved. My chest tightened. Nope, I whispered, stepping back. Nope, no, no. The radio exploded with static again, loud enough to make me jump. Daniel! The voice was urgent now. It saw you, look. I dropped the mic. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't even pick it back up. Outside, the figure didn't move anymore. But I knew. Somehow, I had already made a mistake. A big one. And then, from the base of the tower, I heard footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Climbing the stairs. The first step creaked so loudly it felt like it happened inside my chest. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just stood there, staring at the trapdoor in the floor, the only way up into the tower. Another step. Slow. Heavy. Not like a person trying to be quiet. More like something that didn't care if it was heard. My brain scrambled for logic. Maybe a ranger. Maybe someone hiking who got lost. Maybe, no one hikes out here at 2 in the morning. And no one climbs a fire tower without calling first. The radio hissed again behind me. Don't answer it. My head snapped toward the sound, but I couldn't take my eyes off the trapdoor for long. The voice, whoever or whatever it was, sounded closer now. Clearer. Less buried in static. Daniel, listen carefully. The footsteps stopped. Right below the door. Silence filled the tower, thick and suffocating. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then, knock. 3 slow taps against the wood beneath my feet. I flinched so hard I nearly fell backward. Another knock. This time harder. Hey! A voice called from below. My stomach dropped. It was my voice. Exactly my voice. Same tone. Same pitch. Even the slight rasp I get when I'm tired. Open up, man, it said. It's freezing out here. My mouth went dry. My hands started shaking again. Worse this time. That's not possible. That's not possible. The radio crackled violently, like it was trying to scream over something. Don't open it, the other voice said quickly. It copies, it learns. Below me, my voice laughed softly. Come on, Daniel, it said. Don't be like that. You saw me outside, didn't you? I stumbled back from the trapdoor, my heel hitting the leg of the desk. The radio nearly fell, but I caught it just in time. It needed you to look, the radio whispered. Now it knows. Another knock. Harder. The wooden door rattled in its frame. Let me in, my voice said, sharper now. Less patient. You're not supposed to leave me out here. I shook my head, backing away toward the far side of the tower, pressing myself against the cold glass. No, I whispered. No, no, no. For a moment, everything went quiet again. Too quiet. Then the handle below slowly began to turn. A soft metallic click echoed up through the floor. My breath caught in my throat. That door locks from my side. I locked it. I know I locked it. The radio screamed with static. It doesn't need permission anymore. The trapdoor jerked once, then stopped. Silence. I stood there, frozen, waiting for it to burst open. But it didn't. Instead, I heard something worse. The footsteps again. But this time, they weren't going up. They were going down. Step by step by step, until they faded into nothing. I didn't move for what felt like hours. Maybe it was minutes. Time didn't feel real anymore. Finally, with shaking legs, I forced myself to step closer to the trapdoor. I don't know why I did it. Maybe to make sure it was still locked. Maybe because some part of me thought this was all in my head. I knelt down slowly, every nerve in my body screaming at me to stop. The metal latch was still in place. Locked, untouched. I let out a shaky breath. Okay, I whispered. Okay, it's gone. The radio crackled again, softer now, almost sad. It's not gone. I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't open the door, I said. like I needed to prove something. It didn't get in. There was a long pause. Then the radio said something that made my blood run cold. "Daniel, look at the windows." I turned slowly. Every instinct told me not to, but I did anyway. And that's when I saw them. Not just one figure anymore. There were dozens, standing between the trees, tall, still, watching, all shaped like me, every single one, same height, same posture, same face, and all of them, smiling. My knees nearly gave out. "No," I whispered. The radio crackled one last time. "It only needed one of you." Behind me, very softly, I heard breathing. Not from the stairs. Not from outside. Right inside the room. Close. Too close. And then, in my own voice, right behind my ear. "Thanks for letting me learn." I didn't turn around. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to. But something deeper, something raw and animal, told me if I did, it would be the last thing I ever chose for myself. The breath behind my ear was warm. Too warm. Not like the cold mountain air. Not like anything that belonged up here. It inhaled slowly, like it was tasting me. Then it laughed. Quiet. Soft. Perfectly matched to my own voice. My knees finally gave out, and I dropped hard onto the wooden floor. I scrambled forward, dragging myself away from that presence, my hands slipping against the cold boards. "Stay back," I choked out, even though I knew how useless that sounded. Behind me, it didn't rush. It didn't grab me. It just walked. Slow steps, measured, confident, like it already owned the place, like it already owned me. The radio burst into static again, louder than before. So loud it made my ears ring. "Don't listen to it. Don't respond," the voice warned, strained now, almost breaking. "It anchors itself through recognition." "I already saw it," I whispered, panic rising. "It's already here." "What does that even mean?" No answer. Just static again. I pushed myself up, stumbling toward the far corner of the tower, pressing my back against the glass. My reflection stared back at me, pale, wide-eyed, shaking. But for a split second, my reflection smiled. I jerked my head away so fast my neck cracked. "No," I gasped. "No, no." Behind me it spoke again. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I clenched my fists, forcing myself not to turn. "What are you?" I asked, my voice barely holding together. A pause. Then, "I'm you." The simplicity of it made it worse. Not a monster. Not a thing. Just me. "But better," it added softly. Another step closer. I could feel it now. Not touching me, but close enough that the air felt thick, wrong, like it didn't belong in my lungs. "I had to learn," it continued. "Voices first, then shape, then behavior." The radio crackled violently. "Don't engage. Don't let it define itself." I squeezed my eyes shut. "Why me?" I asked anyway. Because of course I did. Because fear makes you stupid. Behind me it chuckled. "You answered," it said. "You looked. You acknowledged." Another step. Most don't get that far. I swallowed hard, my throat burning. Outside, the figures were still there. Dozens of them. Watching through the glass, unmoving. Waiting. For what? I whispered. This time, the answer came right against my ear. "For you to stop resisting." Something brushed my shoulder. I flinched violently, spinning halfway before catching myself. I squeezed my eyes shut tighter, like that could somehow block it out. "Don't," I muttered. "Don't touch me." "It's already done," it said calmly. My heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" Silence. Then, "Think about it." My mind raced. The voice on the radio. The thing outside. The footsteps, the knocking, the breathing, and then, a detail I hadn't questioned until now. The cold. The heater had gone out. Hours ago. But I hadn't felt cold since. Not really. Not the way I should have. Slowly, hesitantly, I looked down at my hands. They were steady. Completely steady. No shaking. No trembling. Even though I knew I was terrified. "That's not," I whispered. "That's not possible." Behind me it spoke gently. "You're already letting go." My chest tightened. "No," I said. "No, I'm still. This is still me." "Is it?" The question hit harder than anything else. Because I didn't have an answer. The radio screamed again, the voice barely breaking through. "Daniel, listen to me. You need to ground yourself. Memories. Pain, anything real. Memories." I grabbed onto that like a lifeline. My childhood home. My mother's voice. The first time I climbed this tower. The smell of rain in the mountains. I repeated them in my head, over and over, like a chant. "I'm Daniel," I whispered. "I'm still here." Behind me the thing stopped moving. For the first time, it sounded uncertain. "That won't hold forever," it said quietly. I clenched my teeth. "It doesn't have to," I shot back. "It just has to hold long enough." "For what?" I turned my head slightly, just enough to glance toward the radio. An idea was forming. Bad. Risky. Probably stupid. But it was something. "For me to figure out how to get rid of you." Silence. Then slowly, it laughed again. But this time it didn't sound so confident. "You still think there's a way back?" "I have to." Another pause. And then it said something that made my blood run cold all over again. "Daniel, what makes you so sure you're the one still inside?" Everything in me went still. Outside, the figures began to move for the first time. Not walking, not running, just shifting, closer to the tower, in perfect unison. The radio crackled weakly. "Time is almost up." Behind me, the thing took one final step closer, and whispered, "Choose carefully." Something inside me cracked at that moment. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, almost gentle break, like a thread snapping somewhere deep in my mind. Because the worst part wasn't the thing behind me anymore. It was the doubt. That one question, "What if you're not the real one anymore?" started spreading through my thoughts like rot. I gripped the edge of the desk so hard my knuckles should have turned white. But they didn't. They stayed normal, steady, wrong. "No," I whispered. "I'm still me. I remember everything." Behind me it didn't move. Its voice came softer now, calmer, almost kind. "So do I." My chest tightened. That made sense, didn't it? If it learned from me, copied me, then it would have my memories too. My voice, my habits, my fears, everything. The radio crackled weakly, like it was dying. "Daniel, you need something it doesn't have." "What?" I snapped, desperation breaking through. "What does it not have?" Silence. Then, uncertainty. I froze. Behind me, the thing went quiet too. For the first time since it appeared, it didn't speak. It didn't move. It just stood there, listening, thinking. That's when I understood. It copies. It learns. It becomes. But only after it sees. After it knows. After it understands. So anything it hasn't seen yet, anything unpredictable, that's where it's blind. My breathing slowed, just a little. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay." Behind me its voice came back. Careful now. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. Instead, I grabbed the radio. My hands should have been shaking. They weren't. That still scared me more than anything else. "Daniel," The voice inside the radio warned. "I know," I said quietly. "I heard you. You're not thinking clearly." "I don't need to," I replied. "I just need to do something it hasn't seen before." A pause. "Be careful." I swallowed. Then I did something I didn't fully think through. I pressed the talk button and screamed. Not words, not sentences, just pure, raw, broken noise. Loud, chaotic, uncontrolled. The kind of sound no one practices, no one prepares. Something ugly, something unpredictable. The radio shrieked with feedback, the sound bouncing through the tower, echoing off the glass, turning into something even worse. Behind me, silence. No footsteps, no breathing, nothing. I stopped. The sudden quiet hit like a wall. Slowly, carefully, I turned around. It was still there, standing a few feet away, looking exactly like me. But something was off now. His face wasn't right. Its expression twitched slightly, like it couldn't decide what to do, like it didn't know how to react. Good. That meant it didn't understand. "What was that?" it asked. His voice was still mine, but there was something underneath now, something strained. I took a slow step back. "You don't get it, do you?" I said. Another twitch. "No," it admitted. For the first time, it sounded unsure. I let out a shaky breath. "Because I didn't think about it," I said. "I just did it." Outside, the figures paused their slow movement toward the tower, like they were waiting, watching. The thing in front of me tilted its head slightly. "I can learn it," it said. "Given time." "Yeah," I replied. "But you don't have time." The radio crackled again. "Daniel, whatever you're doing, it's destabilizing it." Good. That word, destabilizing, felt like hope. Small, fragile, but real. The thing took a step toward me again. Less confident this time. "You can't stop this," it said. "You've already been copied." "Maybe," I said. "But you're not finished yet." Paused. That hesitation again. I leaned into it. "You don't just replace people, do you?" I continued. "You overwrite them." Slowly. No response. Which was an answer. "You're still learning me," I said. "Which means I'm still here." His face twitched again. Faster now. Like something was breaking underneath the surface. Outside, one of the figures suddenly jerked, then went completely still. Then another. Then another. The radio voice came through, clearer than before. "It's losing synchronization." The thing's eyes locked onto mine. For a split second, they didn't look like mine anymore. They looked empty, hungry. "You're making a mistake," it said, sharper now. "Yeah," I replied. "So are you." And then, without giving myself time to think, I lunged forward and shoved it. The second my hands made contact, everything went wrong. It wasn't solid. Not completely. My hands sank into something that felt like flesh, but also like cold smoke. The air around us warped. The lights flickered violently. The radio screamed. And the thing screamed too. Not in my voice. Not anymore. Something deeper. Something wrong. I staggered back, gasping. It stumbled, its form flickering, glitching, like it couldn't hold itself together. Outside, the figures started collapsing, one by one, folding in on themselves like shadows being pulled apart. The radio voice shouted, "Daniel, keep going. It can't stabilize without you." The thing snapped its head toward me. Its face stretched unnaturally, like it was trying to reform. "You don't understand," it hissed. "If I fail," took a step forward. "You don't stay either." My heart skipped. "What?" But it didn't answer. Instead, it lunged. Fast. Too fast. And this time, I didn't have time to react. It hit me before I could even raise my hands. There was no solid impact, no normal sense of weight or force. It felt like falling into something instead of being struck by it. Like my body had suddenly lost its edges. Cold rushed through me. Not outside, inside. My vision exploded into white for a second, then darkness, then something in between. Like I was seeing too many things at once and none of them clearly. I heard the radio screaming. I heard my own voice shouting. I heard its voice. Twisted, stretched, breaking apart. And then, I couldn't tell which one was mine anymore. I staggered back. Or at least I thought I did. The room didn't move the way it should. The walls bent slightly. The windows rippled. The forest outside looked like it was folding in on itself, like a reflection in disturbed water. "Daniel!" the radio voice shouted. "Hold on to yourself. Don't let it." The sentence cut off into static. My hands came up in front of my face. They flickered. For a split second. They weren't my hands. Longer fingers. Too many joints. Then they snapped back to normal. "No," I gasped. "No, no." Across from me, the thing was collapsing in on itself too. Its body glitched, stretching, snapping, reforming. Its face kept shifting between mine and something else. Something I couldn't fully see. "We're merging," it said. Its voice layered now, mine and not mine at the same time. My stomach dropped. "That's not," I choked. "That's not how this was supposed to." "It wasn't," it snapped, panic breaking through for the first time. "You weren't supposed to resist this long." Another surge hit me. Memories slammed into my head. Not mine. Not all of them. Dark forests I'd never walked. Voices I'd never heard. Endless waiting, watching, learning. And worse, other towers. Other people. Other me's. All failing. All being replaced. All thinking they were still themselves. Right up until the end. I dropped to my knees, clutching my head. "Get out!" I screamed. "I can't!" It shouted back, its form flickering violently. "You're too!" Cut off, its body jerking. "To what?" I yelled. A pause. Then, almost like it didn't want to admit it, "Too incomplete." That word hit differently. Incomplete. Not gone. Not replaced. Just not finished. Which meant neither of us were. The realization hit at the same time for both of us. I saw it in its face. Saw it in mine. "If you don't stabilize," I said slowly, fighting through the noise in my head, "you don't become me. And if you don't," it replied, its voice cracking, "you don't stay human." The tower groaned around us. The windows rattled. Outside, the forest was wrong now. Shifting, bending like reality itself was trying to correct something. The radio sparked, then went silent. Completely dead. No more help. No more guidance. Just us. Half of something each. Breathing hard. Breaking apart. "So this is it," I said, my voice unsteady. Nodded slowly. "Yes." A long, heavy silence filled the space. Then, "We choose," it added. I frowned. "Choose what?" Its expression steadied for a moment, like it was finally certain of something. "Which one of us gets to finish?" My chest tightened. "And the other?" It didn't hesitate. "Disappears." Simple. Final. Terrifying. The tower creaked again, louder this time. A crack ran across one of the windows. Time was running out. I pushed myself to my feet, swaying slightly. "How?" I asked. It looked at me, really looked this time. Not copying. Not mimicking. Just seeing. "For me to become you," it said, "you have to let go. And for me to stay me," took a small step back, "you have to reject everything I am." I let out a shaky breath. That sounds simple. It isn't. Of course it wasn't. Because rejecting it meant rejecting everything it had already touched. Every memory it shared. Every thought that didn't feel quite like mine anymore. Every doubt. Every crack. I looked down at my hands again. They flickered. Not as badly as before, but enough. And then I understood the real choice. It wasn't just about survival. It was about identity. If I fought it completely, if I pushed it out, I might stay me, but I'd lose everything it brought with it. All the knowledge, all the awareness, all the things I now knew were out there. And if I let it finish, then something else would walk out of this tower wearing my face. Smiling. Perfect. Wrong. The thing watched me carefully. Waiting. No tricks now. No lies. Just a choice. Outside, the forest went completely still. Like the world itself was holding its breath. I closed my eyes and made a decision. For a moment I didn't move. I just stood there with my eyes closed, breathing slowly, feeling both of us inside the same space. The same thoughts. The same fading control. It would have been easier to let go. That truth hit me hard. No more fear. No more confusion. No more fighting to prove I was real. If I just stopped resisting, it would all settle. It would all become clear. That's what it wanted. That's what it had always wanted. I opened my eyes. No, I said quietly. The word felt small, but it was mine. The thing in front of me didn't react at first. Then its expression shifted just slightly. "You're sure?" it asked. Not mocking, not threatening, just asking. That made it worse somehow. "Yeah," I said, my voice steadier now. "I am." The tower groaned again. Another crack spread across the glass behind me. Time was almost gone. "You'll lose everything I've shown you," it said. "You'll forget what's out there. I know. You'll go back to being blind." "Yeah." A pause. Then softer. "You'll be alone again." That one hit hard, because it was true. Out here, in this tower, in these mountains, I was alone. And now I knew just how alone that really meant. But I shook my head. Better alone than not me. For the first time, it didn't argue. It just looked at me, really looked. And then, slowly, it nodded. "Then do it," it said. No anger, no resistance. Almost like respect. That gave me just enough strength. I clenched my fists. Every part of me focusing on one thing. Everything that was mine. My name. My memories. My fear. My pain. My doubt. All of it. Messy. Imperfect. Unpredictable. Human. "I'm Daniel," I said under my breath. "I'm still here." The thing took a step back. This form flickered harder now. Breaking. Unstable. I stepped forward. Each step felt heavier than the last, like I was pushing through something thick and invisible. "I'm not something you can finish," I said. Another step. "You don't get to become me." The air warped again. The tower shook violently. The last intact window shattered behind me. Wind roared inside. The forest outside twisted, then snapped back into place. The thing's body started coming apart, edges dissolving like it was being erased piece by piece. "You don't understand," it said, weaker now. "This doesn't stop anything." "I know," I replied. "One final step, right in front of it. But it stops you." His face flickered. Mine, then not mine, then something empty. And then it reached out, not to grab, not to pull, just to touch. For a split second I hesitated. Then I didn't. I let it. His hand passed through mine like cold air. And everything exploded. Light, sound, silence, all at once. I woke up on the floor, cold, shaking, alone. The tower was quiet. No static, no voices, no footsteps, just the sound of wind moving through the broken window. For a long time, I didn't move. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, waiting for something else to happen. But nothing did. Slowly, I pushed myself up. My hands were shaking again. Normal shaking. Human. I almost laughed. The radio sat on the desk. Dead. Completely dead. I picked it up anyway. "Hello," I said. Nothing. Just silence. I walked to the window. The forest looked normal. Still. Dark. Empty. No figures. No movement. No watching eyes. Just trees. I let out a long breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "It's over," I whispered. But even as I said it, something didn't feel right. Not wrong. Just different. Like a word on the tip of my tongue I couldn't quite remember. I frowned slightly. What was I? I stopped. The thought slipped away before I could finish it. I shook my head. "Doesn't matter," I muttered. Probably just the shock. That's what I told myself. By morning, the rescue team found me. Said the radio had gone silent hours ago. Said they were worried. I didn't tell them everything. Just that something happened. Something strange. They didn't push. People don't like answers they can't explain. As they drove me down the mountain, I looked back at the tower one last time. For a second, I thought I saw something in the window. A shape, standing there, watching. But when I blinked, it was gone. I turned forward again, rubbing my eyes. "Just tired," I said under my breath. "Yeah." That's all it was. Just tired. I leaned my head back against the seat and closed my eyes. And somewhere, deep in my mind, something very quiet, very patient, whispered, "Not finished."